It's been a period just over the past 10 years of enormous change and technological change. It also, in the last couple of years, has been a terrible economic period. You've even mentioned the difficulty of operating in the current food chain. Do you think that the accounting and auditing professions kind of lost track of what was going on because of the changes? Or how do you explain some of the terrible problems that have occurred?
Well, you know, if we're talking about banking, let's look at banking, which was perhaps the nub of much of what's happened. I remember the chairman of Banco Santander, the Spanish bank, saying at I think when Lehman Brothers went down in September '08, bankers have forgotten what banking is. A bank takes in a deposit, it pays a rate of interest on that. It lends the same money on to a third party with an interest rate plus a markup. It pays its overheads, it makes a profit. What was happening, I think, with many banks, they were creating products that in the event of what's happening now, people have realized that they were incomprehensible. People really didn't know what the products were at a banking level. That was an issue. So they were selling products that were making big profits, and they were on a bandwagon.
Should auditors have blown the whistle?
Well, of course, that's a question that we've all been asked for the last 2 or 3 years. I think, like anything, we all have much to learn. The standard response to that, Phil, is we are there we're there to form a view on the quotes truth and fairness of the accounts. That's the magic phrase that we all use. It is the director's responsibilities for the actual preparation of the accounts and their viability. And of course, people say, reporters and other commentators, well, that's not good enough anymore.
Well, I'm wondering, is the auditor's status now raised by the crisis? Will it become a more important position in banks or whatever the entity because of the crisis?
You know, if you go back to the Enron position in 2002, the auditing profession then was a self-regulated profession globally, self-regulated. We gave up that, and we're forced to give that up. And we're now regulated here in the States by the PCOEB and other such bodies around the world. And I think auditors have embraced change well. And I think what's going to happen now, after the banking collapse, and we see what's happening in Europe with the green paper that's been published and the way the European Commission is looking at the role of auditor, it could well be that our brief as auditors changes. You know, my father's 91 years of age. He picks up a newspaper and he sees a firm being sued. And he picks up the phone and he says to me, "Jeff, I see you guys have been at it again." We've not done a good job in reminding or educating the community what it is we do as an auditor, and perhaps more importantly, what it is we don't do, frankly. So there will be changes. You know, there's a big discussion going on now as to whether, if you're an auditor, you can also provide other services to that audit client, like consulting, like tax. And that's being looked at in Europe at the moment. Joint audits is another issue. Should we have 2 firms of auditors on major listed companies? So I've got no doubt that we all learn from this. Were we asleep on the job? I don't think we were. But these things just bring to the forefront the need to realize that our profession, like everything else, is dynamic. What suits one generation, one scenario, may not suit the next.